Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Million Dollar Body Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Nate. With me, as always, Juicy Cheeks. Juicy as cheeks.
Juicy Cheeks.
This is the intersection of physical success, time, freedom, and adventure. Have you ever felt like you go to the gym and you don't really have a plan? And you go and you're like, well, I guess it's chest day, so I'll just do chest and I'll do some triceps, maybe some shoulders. So you go to the bench press, and you do 3 sets of 10 reps. And then you go to chest flies and you do 3 sets of 10 reps. And then you do some shoulder press and you do 3 sets of 10 reps. And then you go to triceps and you're like, you know what? 3 sets of 12 reps. You ever done that before? Kyle, you ever done that before? Like, what's yours?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because definitely the triceps, you got to add a couple more reps for more blood flow. Right?
Yeah, well, for the gains.
Right? Accessory work.
But I feel like that a lot of times I see people roll to the gym and without necessarily having a plan, without having a progression, and they just hit 3 by 10, 3 by 12. And I think that's actually killing their gains long term.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Would you agree with it if I wasn't sitting right here?
Probably not. But
would you agree with it if I didn't write 3 by 10 is killing your gains on a big sheet of paper in front
I
of
would
us?
probably say something like 3 by 9 is killing your gains.
Yeah, if you're doing 3 by 9, that's just way too.
But that's where we differ on ideologies, you know.
Yeah.
We spend hours arguing about it in here.
Yeah, he loves odd numbers.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't do 3 by 11. He's like, why not?
Imagine
like,
if
you just
people really
can't.
got worked up on that, right? You son of a bitch, it's 3 by 9. Now it's 3 by 10. And then, you know, you're ruining like holidays, dinner parties.
You just can't talk to that side of your
You
family
can't talk to
anymore.
that side of your family more because they're the 3 by 10 people.
Oh, I feel like with all the division we have in society today, it's only a matter of time before we just go down that route. Like I just
We should push for it.
pick something. Let's just fight about it.
We should push for it because there's not enough division in this world.
We should get more of it.
More division.
Yeah. So I'm on
Okay,
team.
cool. Well, now we got direction in life now.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
But I feel like besides 3 by 5 and 3 by 15, everything's an even number.
Yeah. No, and all jokes aside, you're right. Like 3 by 10 is a very common ideology. I think probably through college, like from articles you read and magazines. I know from a guy, I did that a lot. I'm sure guys can relate. You read these magazines and it's just like, yeah, 3 sets of 10, blah, blah, blah.
Because if you're like, okay, I feel like 3 by 10 is like a really basic, like you read that in Men's Health, whatever
It's like
else.
right in the middle, right?
But then you take it one level deeper and you're like, okay, what is the optimal range for hypertrophy, which means building muscle, which, by the way, like my first job, I was like, I want to be a trainer. I'm really good at it. I've read a lot of information about it. And he's like, great, do you have any certifications? I was like, no. He's like, what kind of training do you like to do? I was like, hypertrophy. And he was like, he didn't fire me instantly, which is
What an
surprising.
That was your first job as a trainer?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This was at a big gym, right?
Yeah.
What was the gym?
Hypertrophy.
What was the gym?
Fitness Works.
That's where I was. I was where
That's
I got my first
right.
training job, and I didn't know anything at that time, and they still hired me
Yeah.
because all they wanted me to do was sell supplements. I remember I got that job because I was just about to go into kinesiology at ASU. I was like, this will be the perfect job to prepare me. But boy, was I wrong.
Here's a trick about gyms and supplements, though, is that like when I was working at Fitness Works, what their like pay structure was like you got 20% and the gym kept 80% unless you hit like this specific, like this metric, you sold $2,000 worth of personal training. And then but even if you sold like $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 worth of personal training, and you didn't sell the corresponding like 10%, like $600, $800, $1,000 worth of supplements, your rate was that 20%. So they were really massively incentivizing you to always push supplements on people.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And it was so frustrating.
I hated it.
Because it's like, hey, you believe in your product and you like being a personal trainer. Why don't you completely compromise your integrity and try to sell raspberry ketones to a 45-year-old soccer mom?
And I remember it was, every gym has a, fat burning supplement they're pushing, right? It's always the most expensive. Why? Because everyone's trying to burn fat, right? I remember this thing being like $80 to $100 a month for this bottle. Ooh. Yeah. And I remember I was like, one, you're telling me I need to sell my training sessions, which were like $75 a session. I got hardly any of it.
Right.
And then turn around and be like, all right, now you just took out a second mortgage. I also need you to buy this overpriced supplement.
My favorite was one called Pyruvate.
That's what okay. Wow. God, you have a better memory than I do. That's exactly what it was.
And it was like
Pyruvate.
Yeah, it wasn't really even a fat burning supplement. It was like people explain it to you and you'd be like, what does that do? What is the Krebs cycle? Why do I need
I
that?
forgot.
It's like, oh, it's metabolism.
Yeah, you
You're
just say
like,
the keywords.
metabolism, huh? I guess I'll take two.
It's all about the keywords.
Yeah. So bad times with the gyms. Anyways, fitness works, notwithstanding. 3x10 will get you into some trouble. And I think there's a better way. I want to share that a couple ideas around what's better than a 3x10, how you can manipulate your workouts to actually see progress. And then what are like the two different things that we need to keep in mind while we're training.
Mhm.
So yeah, should we talk about it? Should I pull up my notes?
Give the people what they want.
People what they want. All right. So number one, I think a lot of times when you come to a 3x10, we're fixated on the 10. 10 is the number, right? So whether, like, let's say we're doing a shoulder press because I'm sitting like this. I should have brought those weights in. That way you could actually see me grunting. So we're doing a shoulder press. I'm sitting here doing them. I have a hot sauce bottle. I'll use that. Hot sauce bottle. Yeah. So I'm doing my shoulder press. And I'm going to do 10 reps here. Okay. So what a lot of times happens is I could literally do 13 reps, 14 or 13 before I go to failure. But instead I stop at 10. And there's two reasons for this. Number one, people are fixated on the number 10. They're fixated on whatever their set rep scheme is without really understanding the underlying drivers of hypertrophy or muscle gain, or basically build, like, how do you build more muscle? And it's not by hitting 10 reps. With a weight, you can do 15 reps with, right? And the second thing that can happen is like you realize that you may overemphasize your abilities, and you're only going to be able to really get 8 reps. So what do? We either go faster or we cut those reps down, and rather than doing full range of motion, now we're doing like top end reps.
Right. You break form very easy just to squeeze them out.
Because again, we're searching for 10 reps. We're not searching for time under tension, muscular contraction, going close to failure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think that, like, if we are married to a number, that can be a problem. And even though like 3x10 can be fine, it can work, you need to have progression over time too. So if you did 3x10 with 10 pounds, you got to do it with 15 pounds. Then you got to do it with 20 pounds. You got to do it with 25 pounds. If you want to see those progressions, like in a linear fashion. So as long as there's some sort of progression, this can still not be the worst thing in the world. But I want to share a couple ways that are better.
Okay. And I think just to preface real quick, when we're talking about 3 sets of 10, we're kind of using that, and correct me if I'm wrong, as an example of just mindlessly working out, right? You can do 3 sets of 10 and get great results if you follow what he's about to tell you in terms of what there's better ways, by all means, and we're going to talk about that. But I think what you're trying to get at is the mindlessness of showing up to a workout and just doing 3 sets of 10 because you think that's some magical code.
Or like, right? That's what you read in Men's Health.
That's what you read in Men's Health. Yeah. But the reality is, like, there's a little more to it than just 3 sets of 10.
Yeah. So like, and I mean, there's going to be more to it than we were even going to get into today. So we're not going to talk about volume. We're not going to talk about optimal rep schemes for specific muscle groups, because that can kind of get convoluted into the weeds. What I want to talk about today is tempo and training to failure. Because I think those two things, if we can master those two things, then you're going to see a lot better growth. You're going to see more gains. You're going to see better results faster in the gym, which, like, before I used to think that, like, oh, gains were like kind of the pinnacle, because you're seeing gains, that's what you want. But now I know that, like, from a mental standpoint, seeing some progress, like, okay, maybe your weight didn't drop, but your arms look better. Maybe you didn't see any progress in the number on the scale, but your waistline shrank. Seeing progress creates momentum. So that's what we got to have progress. If you're not seeing progress, there's something going on. Let's talk about it.
Just talk about it.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
I just have
some song just enter my head when you say that.
Just give a shout out to tacos right now. Speaking of which, Meal Prep Mastery is going to drop. Probably not next week, but the week after, middle of March, we'll go live with that. If you want some more information on Meal Prep Mastery, how you can actually use batch prep to create easy, healthy, sustainable meals, drop a note here in the group. Send me an email, nate@natetrainingsystems.com. And then anyone who's like kind of interested, once again, there's like pre-launch list, we'll actually drop into your inbox, free of charge, totally. Just Kyle's going to send it to you, because he's just a lovely person. Meals that you can cook with 5 ingredients or less. So something fun and easy. Yeah,
and it's very important, because how many times are you going, I just don't have all the ingredients, or I don't want to go to the store and buy all this stuff, or these lavish meals, right?
Yeah.
You
I
know,
don't want to use 4 different bowls.
so it's good to have an option when you like just 5 ingredients or less.
Yeah.
5.
So drop us a note in the group if you're watching this live or you're watching on replay, or shoot me an email, nate@n8trainingsystems.com. We'll get you set up with that ebook. I'll put you on the list to let you know when meal prep mastery drops for real. All right, number one, back to the building stuff up. Number one, we want to make sure that we are using the correct tempo. Okay. If you're trying to build muscle, it's important to lower slowly, because if you're lowering slowly, the eccentric or the negative, that's one of the primary things that can cause more muscular breakdown and more muscle growth. Okay. It also has as a byproduct of keeping you injury free. Going slowly on the way down is a self limiter. So like, let's say you can bench press 80-pound dumbbells, you're killing it, right? But you got to go fast. And that last rep, you're doing like, you're going to put your shoulder into it. It kind of feels funky. You get up, you don't stand like that. Great. We knock those weights down to 60 pounds, but now you're doing a 4-second negative, forcing yourself to control and own that entire range of motion. You're going to build up strength in your tendons, your ligaments, and your joints as well to keep yourself injury free, which at the end of the day is largely more important for 99% of us. Most of us are not going to get on stage to do a dumbbell bench press competition.
Correct.
So who gives a shit what your number is? Let's do it in a way that actually makes sense for you and helps you build up, right? If you can only bench press 135 pounds, putting 185 pounds on the bar is not going to do anything for you. It's not helpful. 0%. It is hurtful in your heart and in your shoulders.
Definitely the heart. Ego for sure.
So we also want to make sure that like we're training, we are just utilizing a controlled tempo at all times. Okay, so controlled is the baseline, but my preference, and I'm curious what you think about this, Kyle, is getting like a 3 or 4 second negative. I'll do a 3 second when I'm trying to take it a little bit easier. It still forces me into being nice and slow, but a 4 second negative, I feel like really forces you to slow down, can help you really radically build up strength, as well as giving your muscles the stimulus they need to grow long term.
Yeah, and I think too, like another element to that is why it's so effective when you're really working on the eccentric phase, especially 4 seconds. And maybe you've experienced it too. You tell clients 4 seconds, maybe tell them 5 seconds, because we all count fast, right? In the middle of a workout, especially in the middle of a set, right? We're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I did it. But one thing about slowing things down is it enables you to then focus mentally on the exercise, and the mind muscle connection increases. You focus on what you're trying to get done. It increases your form. There's a lot of factors that go into it outside of just, being better for you, right? And I know personally, I've growing up had to do a lot of exercise where I just flew through them, right? Squats. It wasn't until I slowed it down that I could really engage everything that I needed to engage in. You see results from that. Go figure.
Totally. And not only results physically from like the muscular standpoint, but also results in like how good your form looks, how good your low back feels, how good your shoulders feel.
Right.
I feel like one of the cues, if you're not interested in counting or having like a tempo, like number that you're shooting for, is just being able to own every position. One thing that I used to do a lot when I had clients in person is I would just be like randomly tell them to stop at certain points in the exercise. So they'd be lifting, I'd be like, stop. And if they can hold that position, good. I'm gonna go a little farther and stop. Okay, hold that right there. Bring that down, stop. Okay. So just making sure that there's an ownership of every little position. There's no momentum when you're doing weightlifting. For the most part, besides like 2 or 3 exercises, you should really never be using momentum anyways. You should be able to stop, pause, hold at any given point during the movement. And if you're not, you're probably using a bit too much weight. So drop the weight down a little bit, slow your reps down, improve your performance. Because like we can increase our weight, we can increase our reps, but most of that is meaningless if our reps look like dog shit.
Right.
So the last thing I want to talk about with tempo is the formula for that. So generally, like we'll talk about tempo with 4 numbers. Okay. So those numbers start with a negative. Then they go to like the stretch position. Then they go to the concentric or the positive. Then they go to the squeeze position. Okay. So for example, I always think about bench press, because bench press, you rack the bar and you're up here, right? Okay.
Well, and you're a guy, so you always think about bench press.
That's right. That's
You're
not wrong.
Yeah, it's true.
So we take that, like the first number, let's say it's a 3 second negative. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3. That next number, what if that's a 1 second? We're gonna pause here in 1 second, just make sure that we have control. Then let's say it's a 1 second concentric or positive, 1 second up, And then how long we hold at the top is important as well. So 1 second, 2 seconds, something like that, making sure that you have that good control there. Now that's the tempo will change a lot from exercise to exercise. But keeping in mind that that first number, the negative, is again kind of going to be a 3 or a 4 second if you're really trying to see an effect on your muscle group. So regardless if you hit 3 by 10 or if you're getting 3 by 6 or 3 by 14, as long as you include a tempo piece that actually allows you to own the position, I think you're on the right track there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just taking ownership in what you're doing. I think it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
No matter what your reps are doing, take ownership in every rep.
I used to hear all the time that like practice makes perfect, right? And then my sisters and I would joke around. We were like, it doesn't. Practice makes permanent. And we thought we were so clever. But what, like, that's actually
I've never heard that actually.
That's actually not wrong.
No.
So practice, the idea of like practicing making you permanent. So if you were going to practice, if you're going to go to the gym, if you're going to work on your business, if you're going to play piano, whatever that is, try to practice perfectly. Do your best. Stay focused. Don't be thinking about what so-and-so said to you on Instagram and be in a hurry to get back, to doing the thumb workout, 3 sets 10 on the online.
My thumbs need to be worked out too, so watch it. But maybe not with the phone. Just
so tell me, how would you work out your thumbs?
I don't know, actually. I don't know. I just was talking to talk. You called me out. You got me.
Gotcha.
You got me. Damn
I
it.
don't know.
Now you got me thinking about thumb exercises.
I feel like they say the
Put a
thumb is
little
the
band.
weakest finger.
Put a little band.
And at first I was like, that doesn't make sense. That's not, because my thumbs are great. Like that's why I'm better than all animals. But I just don't think they're that strong.
No, I don't play video games, but isn't thumbs used a lot in video games?
I wouldn't know.
I
do know. Yeah, they are.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You just
So
gotta
okay,
spin
so
them.
maybe video games.
Yeah, so that's why I do it. That's why I play video
That's what I
games.
thought, right?
Yeah, for the
Is that what you tell your
training.
wife? God, leave me alone. I'm
I'm
training my
exercising.
thumbs, right?
This is important.
I can't protect my kids with weak thumbs.
This is for the family.
Right. There you go. I don't play games, but that's what I would say.
Well, once you're a dad, you're gonna have
Get
to.
me out of here.
Oh man. All right. The second thing that I think that makes 3 by 10 not as important, or makes like that kind of like down regulates that, is the idea of going to failure. Okay. Because like when it comes down to it, our bodies change because they have to. Our bodies don't like to change. Have you heard the word homeostasis? I know you've heard the word homeostasis.
Oh, I've heard it. Yes, I have heard of the word homeo.
That's right. Homeo. That's right.
Homeo.
What did I say?
I don't think we can say that word
I can't
anymore.
say that. That's right. 2022.
Careful.
Oops. I wish I could edit this.
Homeos.
I don't have any idea how you edit
They'll
podcasts.
understand. Okay.
Will they? I hope so.
I think so. Will.
Homeostasis.
Homeostasis.
Just like the idea of that your body likes to stay in the same spot, right? That's why your body doesn't want to drop fat. It doesn't want to build muscle. It wants to stay the same. Like it's survival mechanism. We haven't always had Arby's laying around, Our bodies kind of like to hold on to things.
Why do you gotta bring Arby's in like that?
Because they have the meats.
That's a good point. But there's a funny thing you say that. This past weekend, we got in a discussion with my wife's family about Arby's and is it good or not? And half of us sided with, well, yeah, it's really good. And the other side was it's trash.
What did you
I
find?
side it's good. For being fast food, I have no problem with they used to be what, $5 for $5 back in the day? Yeah.
I don't really know how I feel about Arby's. I haven't been there in a while.
It's
I don't
been
know
way
who
too
goes to Arby's. I've never met a person
never
who's
hear-
like rolled up with like an Arby's bag.
You never hear anyone talk about it.
No.
So maybe it's just a big front.
Here's something I heard about Arby's though, is that there are literally more people who work at Arby's than who are working in the coal industry right now. And I have no
Such a
idea if that's
random
true.
fact. Did you make that up right now?
No, but someone else may have made that up. I have not corroborated it, nor do I intend to, but I do plan on saying it a bunch of times.
Because you don't really see many Arby's. You really don't.
There's one on Priest,
There's that one.
Priest and Elliott.
It's like Radio Shack. Do you see Radio Shacks anywhere?
But are they out of business? I also don't know.
There was a running conspiracy that Radio Shacks were just a front for people in witness protection agency, like witness protection.
That makes so much sense.
Because who shops at Radio Shack? And you might be right, they might be out of business, or they just changed their name to something
How about Circuit City though?
faster buy.
Really
Oh
good
yeah,
buy.
Circuit.
Really good
Even
buy.
better
Finally,
buy.
Try out your electronics before you go buy them
Really
on
good
Amazon.
buy. Don't get the good buys.
Get the
Great
great
buy. Yeah,
buys.
don't get the great buys.
Bestest buys. Well,
Anyway,
going to failure. I don't know. Arby's failure. Bring us
I have
back.
no idea how that got off topic. Anyway,
Just seems to happen.
so failures.
Oh yeah. So what we want to do is want to make sure, oh yeah, giving our body a reason to change. Okay. So like if you're doing a weight, and this is what I see this all the time. This is why I made the title of this podcast is 3 by 10 killing your gains. Because I see guys in the gym who are bench pressing 3 sets of 10 reps or 135 pounds, 45-pound plate on each side. And they did that same thing last year. And they did that same thing the year before. And guess what? Their bodies look exactly the same. There's no difference. You know, so year after year, week after week, they're doing the exact same exercise with the exact same rep scheme, with the exact same weights. There's no change. And therefore, like, great, you're moving, congratulations, but that's exercise. It's not training. You're not training yourself because you're not doing anything different or harder. Training needs to be progressive. It needs to continue to increase in difficulty, and it needs to challenge your body on a regular basis. So the weight you did 3 sets of 10 reps with last week now needs to be the weight that you're doing 3 sets of 11 reps with this week. There needs to be progression. Otherwise, there's no growth. So I think ditching the idea that you have to have 10, I actually prefer a pyramid style, like going up in weight, down in reps, and then finishing with kind of like a drop pyramid. So I love like a 12, 10, 8, 12. An example of that would be like, again, same with dumbbell bench press. I got it on the brain. Dump like 12 reps for 50, 10 reps for 60, 8 reps for 70, and then seeing if you can't get that 60 rep, that 10 rep for 12 reps at the very end, trying to really push the pace on your last set. So I really like to have the last set going to technical failure. Again, I don't want to bring that shoulder up and have to crank it out or have like a spot or have someone like, you know, like hurt their elbow or shoulder trying to get something else up. But we want to make sure that we're getting to the point where our muscles are no longer working. You know, when you get that shake, you know what that causes that?
No, please tell.
So when you have like muscle fibers that are all in a line like this, as you start burning out muscle fibers, like that one's gone, this one's gone, this one's gone. And so now the electrical impulse that is causing your muscle fibers to contract, it's jumping from one muscle fiber and skipping that one. And that's where that shake comes from.
I did not know that actually. Well, I
you did go to
God,
ASU.
it's a good thing. You know, we did not talk about that.
Obviously.
We talked about reps, but not that. Or maybe I missed that.
Maybe you just didn't show up on that Tuesday.
I probably didn't show up on
I
that.
get it. So like when you get to that point where you get a little like the tremor of truth, I had a friend used to call it, like a little bit of that shake, and you still push through it, your muscle fibers are kind of slowing down. They're not producing as much force, but you are still demanding that they create a lot of force. That's where growth comes from, because your body is very, very smart, much smarter than me, probably not Kyle, but me.
So you're saying it's very hard to confuse your body then if it's very, very smart?
It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of muscle confusion here.
Okay, just want to make sure.
So your body was like, okay, I guess we need more strength if this thing that you're moving is not going to fall back down and kill us. So building muscle is a survival mechanism. So if you don't feel like there's anything that's caused you to question your own survival in the gym, you might not be working hard enough to see growth. If there hasn't been anything that's caused you to question your relationship with your family and text your wife and be like, baby, I love you so much. Call your mom and be like, thanks for raising me. Then you might not be working hard enough in the gym.
Those are deadlifts for me back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Front squats, Bulgarian split squats.
Oh, Bulgarians. Ugh.
What are other like tells that you might not be working hard enough?
Yeah, I think if you, like you're saying, if it's the same weight over and over, I think if you're breathing, if your heart rate, like if your perceived effort is not really high, you know, like just
I think even on like a
typical
5 rep, 6 rep set, it's heavy enough, you're going to be straining and breathing a little more.
100%. I mean, I think heavy training actually represents kind of an interval style training anyway, because when you're going heavy, you're especially heavy squats, right? Your heart's pounding after it. So you're elevating your heart rate, letting it come back down, you go back, elevate. So, you know, sometimes it's easy to work out where we're just kind of keeping our heart rate like this, right? Where we kind of want to see it spike, come down, spike.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And that's an easy way to tell from the body feeling without having to get too technical, I guess, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, like, if you never cried during a workout.
Oh, you were going to go that route. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One time I was in college and I was probably just squatting like an absolute piece of shit, but I had put like 2 plates on or whatever, and I was squatting it. I was going for like 3 reps, but I knew I had that 4th rep or 5th rep in me. So I went 4. I was like, wow, I got it up there. Okay. I guess I got 5. And so I did another 5 and I was like, oh man, I got a spotter. Let me get 6. So I went down And I stood back up and I racked the weight and I looked at my spotter and I passed out.
Full on passed out.
I fell on the ground in the squat rack. And everyone was
I
like,
believe it.
are you?
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm too embarrassed to admit that I should probably go home.
Yeah.
And I kept working out for some reason. And it's because I'm
hard-headed.
Not real smart is what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I've never passed out working out. I think the closest.
Ooh, we should do it today.
I'm good, man. I'm 37 now, man. I ain't about that life, that passing out life.
Drop a like if you want Kyle to pass out when he works out.
We put this on Instagram.
Of course.
If
you have to go on the gram, it didn't happen.
But I think everyone can attest, like deadlifting, that's almost made me pass out.
Give me a thumbs up if you want to see Kyle and I work out until we throw up or pass out. I haven't done it in a while. I feel like you got to do that once a year. Every year you have you got to push yourself to the point where you're like, am I dry heaving or is it real? Am I going to throw up? Because I feel like at that point, and I'm not trying to say go do this on heavy deadlifts where you're going to poop your spine out, but push that car, pull that sled, take a farmer's carry, do walking lunges, do hill sprints, do something that you can actually push yourself on until you get to the point where you're like, this is close to my limit and I will probably die. And I think that you got to push yourself there so you know what you're made of and know what that line is like. So if you never go there, you'll always think that you lose it before you actually have lost it.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that brings me to kind of the last point I have is that a lot of times people think that, oh, I have 3 sets. I should sandbag this first one.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, I have 2 more sets.
So true. Or I'm not going to go up weight until my last set. Clients do that all the time. I go, get out of here. Go up sooner.
What do you think? That should every set be close to failure? How's that look for you?
Me personally, after a good, if as long as I'm warming up properly, I'm not starting off the gate with going super heavy, but I do believe as many working reps as you can with the weight that hits your, like you're saying, your example, 12, 10, 8. I want to get to max 12 as close as possible. I want to get to max 10. I want to get to max 8. I don't want to be like, oh, 12, 10, and then 8. I'm now going to push it, right? Because you want to give your body a little more stimulus on those reps to keep growing and elicit change.
And especially if you go 12, 10, and you're like, well, I'm going to have to make a 30-pound jump to hit something that's going to be a proper 8 rep.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's a lot to jump up. But I like to have 2, make sure every single exercise I do 2 sets that are pushing failure. Okay. And my last one, I'll go to pretty much complete failure, try to really get it. But that second to last one is one where I'll take it to about 95%.
And you're almost talking technical failure for your last one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
Whereas it would probably help me to have someone give me a little spot on that last bit.
Exactly. When you're pushing on the first few sets, I don't want to go to failure.
Yeah.
But I want to go to where it's pushing. I'm not breaking down.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah. So I
can't do much more.
Totally. And if you're not sure where you fall on this, what I would encourage you to do is just go to the gym, do your normal workout, and on the last set, see okay, is it 10 reps that I can get with this weight? Or is it 12, 13, 14?
Yeah.
Because I think some people are so surprised when they start working with a personal trainer because they just push them a little bit more. And they're like, wow, I start seeing gains. But you can get those gains without working with a personal trainer if you just can harness and push yourself a little bit more. And one really, really easy way to do that is just to have some progression. Make sure that you know that hey, last week I did this for 10 reps. Now I need to do it for 11 reps. Now it's not a motivation thing. It's a written thing. You just follow along with the formula. I was training with a buddy of mine and he was like, do you always push yourself this hard? And I was like, yeah, pretty much. And he's like, how do you do that? And I was like, well, I don't need to be motivated or inspired. I just need to do what's written down right here. It's already written out. I know that I'm doing a 12, 10, 8. And I know that last week I did 40, 50, 60. So I know what I need to do better in order to give myself a check mark on these. Mm-hmm. So take away your motivation, take away your inspiration, take away your muscle confusion, and instead just have a plan that already has that built in. Progression should be built into your plan. You should see progress from workout to workout based on the program you're running. And any good program is going to have that.
No, that's a great point too. I know when I diligently kept track of all my workouts, knew what I was going into to do my workout, right? What I was going to do, had it pre-written out, track the weights. It was always the best. It was always the best in terms of mentally showing up, getting it done, and also just seeing results, right? 100%. And sometimes, and I suffer from this too, and I don't know about Nate because he's perfect. Sometimes when you know a lot and you do this, you go to, it's easy for someone like me just to show up to the gym going, well, I know what I need to do mentally. because I've done this, it's like the back of your hand, right? Like I can program and do this like the back of my hand. But even still, if I write it down, then I can just go boom, boom. I can still turn this off to knowing what am I going to do next. Because sometimes I'm always focused while doing squats. Like, okay, what do I want to do next? RDLs, don't do lunges, don't do this, versus just
get rid of that shit.
Turn it off.
Everyone's so
follow
busy.
along and just go.
Listen, and like you're a professional. You are a personal trainer. You've been doing this for years and years and years. I've written 4,000 plus programs. I've written thousands, so many programs, and I still pay to have someone else write mine. Always, 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 because it's so much easier to follow out and execute and not try to reinvent the wheel all the time. So if you're a CPA, if you run a business, it's not your job to write programs, okay? Stop doing it. Go find someone else who has what you want and just get them to write your own program. It's so much easier. It's gonna transform everything, okay?
And there's less overthinking.
Oh yeah, why
You just
bother?
follow, right?
Just follow along. Oh,
Right.
shameless. That's not even a shameless plug. That's just a fact.
That's just a fact.
That's just a fact.
Hashtag facts.
Hashtag science. Look it up. Guys, I hope this brought some value to you. I hope you're going to go ahead and hit the gym, try some of these techniques out, getting a little slower negative, pushing the pace, going to failure, and then maybe just seeing what you're made of, seeing what we're capable of at the end of the day. And if you there's something else that we can help you out with, if you want access to, or you want to hear more information about the meal prep mastery, you want to get access to Kyle's five ingredient or less meals, just say meal prep mastery or meals in the chat. Send me an email with that subject line. We'll get that to you. If there's other two ways we can help you with your fitness right now. And number one is you want a free nutrition audit. Go to freenutritionaudit.com. And either Kyle or I will take a peek at what you've been eating for the last 3 to 6 meals, and we'll give you some feedback on it. And if you're looking to get a sugar detox going right now, if you want to drop some weight quickly in the next 5 days, learn how to fast a little bit better, get away from processed sugars, cravings, and build your energy back up, then go to milliondolarbodymethod.com/sugar to get a free 5-day course taking you all the way through how do you do a sugar detox, what's involved with that. And by the way, no pills, powders, or potions will be harmed during your sugar detox. Anything you want to leave them with?
No, that's a lot of value right there. I go back to your free nutrition audit, which is a great URL. It's true though. I think most people, if they feel stuck or they're unsure where to go, start there. Start with having someone who knows what they're doing. Look at your nutrition, right? Let's see there, and then just make some simple changes. It really is simpler when you have honest feedback and you're not just relying on reading some blog.
Or your friends. Again, I'm not your friend. Well,
yeah, we hate you.
I'm kind of I'm gonna give it to you straight. Like I went to stand-up comedy. The stand-up comedy guy is leading it, not my friend. He's not gonna be like, oh my gosh, Nate, you're so good at stuff. He was like, all your stuff is weak. You gotta do it like this. And you know what?
True. He can be real with you. He can be so real with you.
Like a little bit of a little ego in there, but also how can we grow if we're always getting pats on the back? Yeah. Oh, you're doing such a good job. No, let someone be real with you.
Yeah, that's true. Let someone outside of your comfort zone be real with you, because look, I can't tell him his comedy sucks because I don't want to hurt his feelings. I'm his friend, right?
So even if it's true,
but his teacher can tell him that.
Yep.
His comedy doesn't suck. He was actually really good.
By the way, David Specht in the group, give him a shout out. Follow him on it. Follow him in Improv Mania, Chandler. And if you're a Phoenix person, we're going live. We're doing a little comedy. It might suck. I don't know. There's no way to know because I only asked Kyle if it's good. And he's like, yeah, dude, you're so funny.
I have to say yes.
It's like you're basically Louis CK minus the masturbating in front of people. Well, that's it.
That's it. All right.
Just a big oof.
Yeah, on that note.
All right. See you guys soon.